Then, now, forever. Together.
Hello, welcome to a episode of GWE where we're going to discuss the build-up to SummerSlam, the biggest SummerSlam in WWE history, which is no doubt what they're going to market it as. And does the WWE have a SummerSlam problem? Let's talk about it today, because I think this is going to be the first ever two-night SummerSlam. It is at a humongous stadium, the MetLife Stadium in New York and New Jersey. They've got to sell 60-odd thousand, well, they don't have to, but they'll be aiming to 50 to 60,000 seats each night. Prices are more reasonable than WrestleMania, but they're still very, very expensive. Although they seem to have balanced off from a bit of the last few events. So we are 4 weeks away, less than 4 weeks away, about 27 days away from SummerSlam. And does it feel like a mini WrestleMania? Does it feel like a second WrestleMania? I don't think it does, bar the announcement of the one match that we've had, which is obviously Codyrhodes versus John Cena, which feels huge. It feels like old school wrestling where you would have the main event at WrestleMania and then you'd have a rematch at SummerSlam. In the old days when there was just four PLEs, pay-per-views in those days. So that does feel big, and the anticipation of the event should feel big, but no one's ever had a two-night SummerSlam before. We've got Cardi B as the host. That's it. That's all we know. And I'm a big Cardi B fan, so I have no problem with Cardi B as a host. I think it brings star power. She's a wrestling fan. It'll be hilarious if she gets involved in some of the action. So that's good, but that's all we have. Cardi B is hosting. Cardi B is providing the theme tune outside. And John Cena and Codyrhodes are having a rematch for the WWE title as one of the main events, probably night 2 main event, much like it was a night 2 WrestleMania main event. However, I've seen quite a lot of posts and I've seen a lot about too many events, not enough build up. And I think, if you've watched this channel before, you know, relatively positive about WWE, watching it, enjoying the ride and such like. However, I would have to say I'm not entirely in disagreement with the fact that we've got so many events, and I think you've added this year the frequent Saturday nights main events as well, which are almost like mini PLEs, plus, you know, doing the Evolution show the night after a PLE. They've got NXT shows, which we don't really talk about that much on these channels, but it's a humongous thing. And obviously AEW have got their version of WrestleMania All In this weekend as well. But how does that lead up to SummerSlam? What it does is leave us, once we finish the Evolution, with about 19, 20 days until SummerSlam, and one match has been announced. Now, you could say Saturday night's main event's got to happen, Evolution's got to happen, I agree. However, there is a balance, and many people thought Jay winning the Royal Rumble and then having however many week it was, 2.5 months build up to Wrestling Gunther at WrestleMania was too much. I think John Cena and Cody's, I mean, it was obvious. Jade will face the winner, or I assume it'll be Tiffany Stratton rather than Trish Stratus at SummerSlam. That's good. I'm not sure about, I think as many people have said, the build up to Evolution's not been brilliant. I mean, Becky, Lyra and Bayley triple threat should be good. Yeah, I mean, Io versus Rhea is always good, so that should be a good match, but it's kind of, she picks her opponent. Tiffany Thomas picked Trish Stratus. Not huge build up, but we're talking a week away now from the event. And obviously, fair enough to WWE, the plans were obviously disrupted with Nikki Bella and Liv Morgan. So that doesn't look like it's going to happen. The rest of the women are going to be in a then there's a fail 4-way tag team title match, which seems okay. I don't mind. I think that's been a positive. The Alexa Bliss team up with Charlotte Flair, and that's a good use of both of them. It's interesting, and I think that'll be a good fatal 4-way with whoever the team is from Raw and whoever the team is from NXT, and then the rest of the women get put into Battle Royal. I have to say it's not been brilliant, but also it leads up to this point of the Saturday night's main event. Okay, you could say it's a one event, one match card with Goldberg, but that's going to be a 4-minute match, 5-minute match at best. 10 minutes even with the entrances, Gunther versus Goldberg. And then you've got Drew versus Randy, which was put together very quickly. And you've got something else that I can't even remember. Oh, you've got Seth versus LA Knight, which again, I guess it wasn't put together based on one attack, but they've been feuding with Seth's gang. For me, I want big matches at SummerSlam. Like, this is going to feel like it deserves 2 nights. So originally, the first 2 nights SummerSlam was going to be in Minneapolis next year. They decided to do a 2-night SummerSlam this year, obviously based on the huge popularity, the tickets that they've been selling, the money they've been making, Netflix, etc., etc. But you've got to make it feel like WrestleMania, then, or at least close to WrestleMania. And fair enough, the main event does feel like that. But what are the other matches that can happen? It looks to me like Roman Reigns is going to join Jacob Fatu and Jimmy and maybe even Jay in an 8-man tag. And the story is, or it looks like, that Roman is going to film this Street Fighter film. It begins filming in Australia in August, so he'll only be coming back for if he does come back, for a couple of weeks. And that's all match. And I guess that's what you put him in. It doesn't feel like a great position for him. He'll elevate that match, obviously. Would I rather see, and I think we're probably waiting for WrestleMania for this, Seth versus Roman, of course. We'll see Roman in a main event or wrestling for a title. Roman versus Gunther. Have you got enough time to build that up in 3 weeks? Who does Gunther wrestle for the title? Seth's obviously going to carry around Money in the Bank. Is it Seth versus Punk again then? Which I don't mind. And probably with a stipulation. I mean, they have only had 2 matches. They obviously have been feuding for ages. And even when Punk was injured, this time last year at SummerSlam, they're obviously in a feud, and it's great. And I don't think I'll be upset with Seth. Seth versus Punk feels like a big SummerSlam match, probably with a stipulation. I did have a thought. A stipulation would be put Seth's Money in the Bank on the line, have that as the main event on night 1, and either of those two could then cash it in potentially on night 2 or on Gunther versus whatever Gunther's match is. So, to go back to the exam question, does WWE have a SummerSlam problem? When I say SummerSlam problem, they've got a build-up to SummerSlam problem. If we were 4 weeks away from WrestleMania, we would know half the matches. We would be excited because it's WrestleMania. Even, many people criticised this year's build-up. I was still excited that it was this year's WrestleMania. Maybe not because it wasn't the greatest build-up ever like we had last year at WrestleMania 40, and I get that. But I do think that there is a bit of a gap there, and maybe it'll all pick up because we've got Raw this week and then SmackDown, and then we've got Saturday's main event, and maybe a lot will happen at Saturday's main event. Maybe someone big will return, maybe something will happen, they will set up thing, that could be thing. And obviously from a women's point of view on the Evolution side, as I said, I don't think it's been a great build up. There's matches, bar probably the triple threat, which I think we're going to get, which has been built up over time. I saw someone make a point that what WWE have done well in the last year and a half or 2 years, and the Triple H, however long it's been, is long term. And I think maybe it's not been as good long term, or definitely on the women's side, it hasn't on most of the stories. Obviously, you've got Jade and Naomi. I think Alexa and Charlotte have been good. It doesn't help. Bianca Belair is, I assume, still injured. That's why she's not got a match at Evolution. She had the broken fingers. Don't know how long they tell her. I really hope she's better for SummerSlam. Really we'll get Asuka versus Io at SummerSlam as well. But there's a short space of time, and we need a really good Saturday's main event. We need a really good Evolution. There's no reason why these won't be good shows. It's just the build-up of them. And Evolution, I think, has the potential to be a really, really good show. But what I think we need is from those 2 shows, and then the SmackDowns and Raw immediately afterwards, the week after next, we need some real build-up into this SummerSlam. If WWE are going to market SummerSlam as, it's always been the number 2 show, but as the real number, most people like Royal Rumble is their second show after WrestleMania, but that's for now at least a one night. Then if they're going to put it all into this, have this huge stadium, have these celebrities, I can't imagine Cardi B is going to be the only celebrity there. They need the matches and the build-up, and it can happen quick. Like once Cody won King of the Ring and Cena retained, I'm excited. I am excited, and a lot of people didn't like their match, so it's an opportunity for them to put on something better. I didn't mind their match. Did I think it was the greatest match ever? No. Was it as bad as people said? No. Did I mind Travis Scott? No, because I like Travis Scott. People annoyed that The Rock didn't show up. Would The Rock show up? I mean, he might show up at SummerSlam. He's not going to obviously have a match at SummerSlam, but he might show up. Travis Scott going to show up at SummerSlam? I hope so. I know a lot of people won't. I hope so. Just so we can hear Fiend again. No, so I think, yeah, it doesn't have a SummerSlam problem. It's a SummerSlam build-up problem would be my answer to my own question I posed myself and then decided to talk about for 10 minutes. So there is a build-up problem, and I think, like I said, we need some good shows next weekend, and then some very good episodes of Raw and SmackDown to build into what they're building. So they've got to get 12, I think minimum 12 matches. It'll be 6 matches a night. Maybe they'll go for 5 and 6 one night, but anywhere between 11 and 14 matches that they've got to build. Obviously, okay, we'll have a world heavyweight title, a lot to go alongside the WWE title. That's 2. Probably have some kind of women's tag team match. Just think of that, because I was thinking of what Alexa and Charlotte might challenge if they don't win it on that, and that's good use of 2 stars as well. Gives it star power, which is really important. And as you know, as I always talk about, I think it's as important as anything in wrestling. You'll have Punk and Rollins maybe as a match. Maybe you'll have this bloodline versus bloodline thing with Roman inserted into it. Maybe that's 5. You'll have obviously the women's match between probably Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill, which I don't mind. I look forward to that with the possibility of Naomi cashing in. Maybe Io versus Asuka, or Rhea could win and it could be Rhea versus someone. So maybe that takes you to around 7. Jacob Fatu versus Solo Sikoa, I thought would be the match, but then if you're having some kind of tag match, would they be in that, or would it be the others? And if it's the others, are you really suggesting Roman Reigns against Tangaloa and JC Mateo and even the new one? I mean, that does not seem like a great use of Roman. I mean, it could be Roman and the Usos, obviously, which would be great to see, but we had the reunion, and I would like if Jimmy and Jay are going to get back together, I would like a build-up of them getting back together, and actually as a tag team. But we'll see. Roman could be inserted into a match with Seth. I mean, you can't. I mean, the obvious one is with who's feuding, and you can't just do the same 2 main events as WrestleMania. Because you can't. You're already doing one match. That is a rematch from WrestleMania. You can't do Seth and Punk and Roman again. Plus, Roman has to get his revenge on that. But if he's not hanging around for long, I guess Roman could come back and lose to Seth. He's on the poster, as I'm sure many of you had seen, for War Games, so he'll be back at that point. So I don't know how long the film will be. But obviously you've got the Cody Rhodes thing as well. So Cody Rhodes, I don't know if this is as official as Roman Reigns being cast as Akuma in Street Fighter, but Cody Rhodes looks like he's been cast as Guile in Street Fighter, who's arguably a bigger character in Street Fighter. So you think he could have a bigger role, or at least as big a role as Roman Reigns. And if this filming starts in Australia in August, that's Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes out for a period of time. Will Cody win the title or not? I think a lot of people think Cody will win the title, but will he win the title if he's out? Then again, John Cena's only got limited appearances, so does it matter that much? They've got Clash in Paris at the end of August to build up to. Yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of a weird time. Like, it's good. SmackDown coming back to 2 hours is good. Raw is still as good TV as there is on TV. I would argue for 2 hours 20 minutes every week. 2 hours 20 minutes with the ads. It's about an hour and a half of TV. I would say Raw is, and I'm going to be watching next weekend, and we're watching Saturday Most Main Event. I'll be watching Evolution, but what could be good is an injection of star power, Roman Reigns, and a ramp up to this build up of this big 2-night SummerSlam. So we got to about, I think, 7 matches. Where are the other 7 coming from? Maybe you'll get a Randy versus Drew rematch. They're doing it at Saturday's Main Event. Dominic, assume was not injured badly, will defend the Intercontinental title. The women's, whoever wins the title will probably defend again the Intercontinental title. But again, you've got, unless you just do a rematch, assume of what's happening at Evolution. Again, Becky and Bayley and Lyra, and however that plays out, that's fine. I think again with Bayley and Becky, you've got some star power there, especially with Becky, and how that plays out. But then you're having a lot of rematches, a lot of repeated matches, and obviously SummerSlam should feel, if it's going to be a WrestleMania, it should feel like, oh my god, we're Cody versus Cena, you're only getting it for the second time. We've only had it once, and we'll probably never, and actually we've seen it, we'll never have that match again. If we get Punk and Rollins at a rubber match because, you know, they won one match each, and this is what we get. Seth did win the triple threat, but he did pin Roman. So you've got it there. So they do have a problem. It's not a problem that can't be solved, but I'm intrigued to see how they solve it. And what I want to feel was as excited as if it was almost WrestleMania time, you know? So we get Saturday night's main event. Maybe we get a big return. Maybe something happens. Maybe a big angle that we couldn't obviously see. I'm interested in who Gunther's opponent's going to be. I mean, it could be Gunther. If I could pick it, it would be Gunther versus CM Punk at SummerSlam, which I think is a huge match for the World Heavyweight title. And you do Seth versus Roman, but I get while they wait for them to finally have a match against just the two of them against each other, and next year's WrestleMania, that feels big. That feels like a WrestleMania match, and I'm not going to argue with that. But then, in the spirit of this SummerSlam trying to feel like WrestleMania, maybe we could get it there. And suddenly, I think if you get Gunther Punk, you get John Cena versus Rhodes, and you get Seth versus Roman at SummerSlam, then it feels huge. That feels huge. Gunther Roman obviously Gunther Punk never, I think it happened on a house show or something, but that feels fresh, new. You got the tease for it with Punk pushing him this week on Raw. Maybe you get there. Anyway, always interested in everyone else's thoughts. What do you think the card's going to look like at SummerSlam? Maybe we'll do another video soon predicting that card, or maybe we can actually talk about some of the matches when they announce some of the matches post, I assume, next weekend. What's everyone's thoughts on the current state of play in WWE? What's the build up been like for Evolution, in your opinion, for Saturday night's main event? Do you agree with me that we need to ramp it up, I think, over the next few weeks? I'm assuming most people will. Always, if you haven't already, please like this video, please subscribe, and always please comment. Take care. Enjoy your day.